Hey, I'm Pascal, and this is Pop. So, overpopulation is a pretty big problem today. It's the main cause for a lot of issues that we've been trying to solve, like pollution and ecosystem disruption and deforestation and a lot of really huge things. Right now, we have a population of 7.5 billion, and according to National Geographic, Earth can only handle 10 billion people. And at our current rate of reproduction, we can reach that pretty quickly. But what's really the problem with 10 billion people? It's arguable that if we just redistribute wealth and food, we can totally care for that many people, but it's not about if we can care for them, it's about what that's going to do to our planet. We have experienced a huge population boom. This is because we have excelled technologically and medically and been able to facilitate this kind of growth. But this hasn't happened until about the last century or so, where our rate of reproduction has increased immensely, meaning that our numbers have increased even faster and in a shorter amount of time. Because of overpopulation, every nation is trying to generate enough energy to support their growing economies. As a result, countries are digging for oil and fracking for methane and mining for coal with little regard for the effects on the environment. In addition to this, overpopulation is the main cause of climate change. Because of the rise of industry, with our rise of population, we're pumping CO2 into the atmosphere, which causes things like air pollution, overproduction of CO2, tsunamis, increased rainfall and droughts, tornadoes, and respiratory health problems. If we keep growing as a population, the demand for production will just increase, and industry will grow more and more along with us. If we keep pumping this much CO2 into the atmosphere, we won't be able to go back. Soon we'll just be feeding into a cycle that will merely spit back out everything we put in and even add to it. This is called a positive feedback loop. An example of this is the melting ice caps. As the ice caps melt because of our atmospheric heat, more reflective ice melts and the ocean absorbs more heat and the planet becomes even warmer. In addition to this, companies like Monsanto are genetically modifying crops to counter climate change and keep production of food up. And this damages the environment too. With new, stronger plants come new, stronger pesticides and weed killers, which harm ecosystems and our environment as a whole. So how can we solve this? Well, I've come up with the POP plan. It's basically like a one-child policy, except you can have a maximum of 2 kids. The reason why you can have 2 is because if you think about it, when you have a kid, you pass on half of your genes. So if you have 2, you'd be replacing yourself once. 1/2 plus 1/2 would equal 1. If we just replace ourselves and don't add to the population, then in the long run, we would gradually decrease because the death rate would remain the same, but our growth rate would decline. But it's a little confusing, so let me just give you some better examples. So let's say one day Maya meets Thomas and they fall in love. So they get married and they have a daughter named Portia. But then Maya screws up the whole relationship and they split up. But then she meets Tank at a yoga class, because why not? And then Thomas, don't worry about Thomas, because he finds Courtney. Yep. Courtney. So, Thomas and Maya already have Portia, but then Maya and Tank have Laura, and Thomas and Courtney have Ed. But Tank and Maya run into some parenting obstacles, because Laura's kind of difficult, and they realize that they really just can't stand each other. So Tank, after crying it out for a solid few days, meets Steph at a comic convention, and Maya meets Paolo. So, Steph and Tank have Ty, and since Maya, as you can see, has had her 2 kids and left a serious trail of broken hearts, her and Paolo decide to adopt, and they name their daughter Paula. Yep, Paula. So yeah, everyone lives happily ever after. So I know at first this plan sounds a little crazy and a bit extreme, but there are other reasons behind it besides just the environmental ones. Raising a kid today can be pretty expensive. Just raising one child from age 0 to 18 can cost upwards of $304,000. And if they have a disability like, say, autism, that shoots up to $1.4 million. And if they have an educational disability, like, say, an IQ below 70, that costs $2.3 million. But let's say you just have one kid with no disabilities. That's $304,000 from 0 to 18. But let's say you pay for graduate and undergraduate college for one kid. Well, then that goes up to $410,000.
And if you have 2 kids, that'll cost at least $820,000. But you don't just take care of your kids. I mean, you have grandparents too. So let's say you care for, hypothetically, 1 grandparent, and you pay for about 4 years of assisted living. That is about $996,000. And if you add, let's say, 3 years in a nursing home, then that goes up to $1.6 million. And if you add this to, let's say, 2 kids with educational disabilities, that's at least $5.2 million, which is a lot. So yeah, that's the financial side of the POP plan. If you have any questions, comment below. And if you like the video or want to be a part of the plan and support it, then you could pledge or promise on the promises page. But thanks for checking out the website and watching the video. See you later.